Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Bandai movie monster series, Mothra 1992. Now, this version of Mothra comes from the 1992 film, Godzilla vs. Mothra, not to be confused with the 1964 film, Mothra vs. Godzilla, which is much better in my opinion. Yeah, as you can tell, I am not the biggest fan of Godzilla vs. Mothra. I think it is a very mid movie. It's still watchable. There's some moments that I like in it, and Akira Ifukube, I think, he's the man when it comes to Godzilla soundtrack. So, of course, this movie soundtrack is very good, because, he did the soundtrack. But, yeah, there are some things that I do like about this movie, but, yeah, like, for the most part, it's just kind of whatever. Again, watchable, but whatever. And even this design for Mothra isn't really my favorite. I still bought this figure because I think like a Heisei Mothra design I think would look nice on my Heisei Godzilla shelf, because I think this figure would like kind of complete things as far as like the look goes. And for the most part, I do think that this figure gets that job done. But this figure, a lot of people aren't really pleased with this figure right now. We'll talk about why in a little bit, but yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, so let's just get right into this. Before we take a look at the figure itself, I just wanted to quickly take a look at the tag, and the tag on this figure I think looks very nice. We have a, for the cover here, we have a nice screenshot from the movie. The bottom here, we have Mothra, 1992. Mothra is in English and in Japanese here. And right here we have the Godzilla 2023 emblem. On the back here we have a nice picture of Mothra's wing, or a nice little silhouette here. Godzilla vs. Mothra, movie monster series, and the Bandai logo right there. On the inside we have a bunch of legal information in Japanese, so unfortunately I can't really read any of this. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the tag on this figure. Now we'll take a look at the paint. And the painting on this figure is painting, so let's take a closer look. So starting off at the head here, we can see that, her head here is casted in this white coloration, which I think looks very good. Her golf ball eyes here are painted blue, this metallic blue, which I think looks really nice. There's this brown square right here on her face, which is painted nicely, but below that there should be, like, more orange. So I think it's a little weird that they didn't include that little like orange bit right there, but it is little and not the end of the world whatsoever. But speaking of which, her beak here is painted a very dark shade of brown. It looks black, but it is just a very dark shade of brown. So yeah, there's supposed to be a little bit of orange here that they didn't paint, which is a little annoying, but again, very minor and not the end of the world. So that's fine. The back of the figure here, like the back of the body, is casted in this white material as well. And we have some orange stripes here, which I think looks good. It would have been nice if they continued all the way down to the stinger here, but they don't, which is a little annoying again, but, not the end of the world. But speaking of her stinger here, it is this, again, it's painted this a very dark shade of brown, just like with the beak. So, yeah, it looks nice. And now for the top of the wings here, and the top here, I think look nice, there are some spots that they definitely, like, forgot to paint. Like, you can see, like, these marks here, like, these bits are supposed to be painted on each wing. And these parts here are supposed to be painted white. But besides that, though, the painting here still looks okay, and I'm not complaining whatsoever, so, yeah. Anyway, the underside of the wings here, they also look good. What, you think I'm mad? You think this would upset me that they just completely didn't paint this? No, this is not the end of the world at all. This, like, you guys are just overreacting. This is just, like, this is perfectly fine. I don't know what your problem is. All jokes aside, that is inexcusable. Like, I know it's a Bandai vinyl, but, like, there comes a point where you need to draw the line. I can forgive the painting on the movie monster series Kiryu 2002. No problem. I can forgive the painting on the movie monster series Monster X that just came out. I can forgive the painting on the movie monster series Megalon that just came out. Or, not just came out, but you get my point. Like, those figures are kind of known for not having the best paint apps, so I can forgive them for the way how they, turned out. But this, They didn't even try. This is just embarrassing. I guess if there's one more thing to say, I guess we have this brown strip right here going down, but yeah, I mean the feet should be painted yellow, but that's the least of this figure's worries. This is just embarrassing. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure, I'd say gets half a pass because like half of this figure, the upper half, I think looks good. It could be better, but it looks good. But the bottom half of the figure just does not look good, like at all. So yeah, the painting here, I'm gonna say gets half a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation on this figure, and the articulation on this figure. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and sculpting on this figure I actually think looks good. I think is probably the best aspect of the figure. It looks very spot on to what we see in Godzilla vs. Mothra, and yeah, it just looks really nice. And one thing I want to, praise this figure for is that this figure can actually stand well on her own, which is very cool. I say that because all the way back in, I believe 2019, either 2019 or 2018, Bandai released this figure. This is the Bandai movie monster series Mothra that they just called it. They didn't really give it a specific year. They just kind of called it Mothra. This is the one from Godzilla Final Wars, but they gave it a 92 tag, which is a little weird. But anyway, you can see the legs here, how the legs are. Like this figure, like it can't really stand. Like you can like kind of get it like sometimes, but for the most part, this figure just does not stand to save its life. But this figure actually stands well. So yeah, I think that is really cool on this figure that it can actually stand. It shouldn't be a big deal, but for this figure, that actually is kind of cool. Considering. But I digress. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the sculpting on this figure. And the sculpting on this figure is good. So the sculpting here, I'd say gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the detailing. And the detailing on this figure, again, just like with the sculpting, it looks good. So let's take a closer look. So going to the head here, we can see there is a lot of very nice fur detailing here, which I think looks very nice, very well defined. And even her golf ball eyes here, I think are detailed very nicely. They look like golf balls, what do you want from me? But I digress. Her beak has a decent amount of detailing on it as well. And even the back of the figure here, all the bits of fur here is detailed very nicely. And even on the wings here, like, the bit of fuzz here is detailed nicely, but even, like, the detailing throughout the wings looks good. And even though the painting here is atrocious, like, and by atrocious, I mean they just didn't try it. Like, again, we still have a lot of really nice detailing here. And same for the underside here. Again, just a lot of really nice fur textures here. And yeah, it looks pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing here, again, just like with the sculpting, I think looks good. So overall, I'd say the detailing on this figure gets a pass. Now, we'll do some size comparisons. Here we have the Bandai Movie Monster Series Megalon. Here we have the Bandai Movie Monster Series Kiryu 2002. Here we have the Movie Monster Series Monster X. And again, I can completely forgive the painting on all three of these guys. Like, it definitely could be better, but for what they're trying to pull off, I don't think it looks terrible, because it still kind of gets, like, the idea across of what it's trying to do. So, the painting on these guys definitely could be better, but, like, it's still decent. The underside of Mothra here is just embarrassing, and, Bandai and Toho really, like, going forward, like, really need to, like, make sure this doesn't happen again, but I digress. Anyway, like usual, to end out this size comparison, here we have some hand sanitizer, and here we have Dr. Billy Grant. So at the end of the day, should you get this figure? I'm 50-50 on this figure, because on the one hand, I do really like the sculpting and detailing here. That's great on this figure. There's no articulation, which is a little annoying, but the painting on this figure, like, the top half of the figure, I think looks okay. You know, they could have touched up some parts, but for the most part, I think the painting on the top half of the figure looks good. It's just the bottom half of the figure that has, like, they didn't even try with the paint. So, yeah, like, there are some very, very, like, noticeable issues with this figure, but there are also some noticeable positives I have with this figure. So, again, I'm 50-50 here. I don't know. I don't know. This figure retails for 20 bucks, which, again, the paint quality, I don't think it justifies that. Plus, you got to pay for shipping if you order this guy from Hobbylink Japan. So, in total, you're paying about like 40 bucks, and it's, yeah, I don't think it's worth it, if I'm being 100% honest. If you can get this guy for like 10 bucks, maybe even like 8 bucks if like Hobbylink Japan has like a sale on this figure or something like that, then I'd say go for it, but don't get this figure now when it's like 20 bucks. Because, again, like, the painting here is just, it's not the best. So, yeah. Get this figure if you can find him for a good price. Like, I don't know. This figure's weird, man. It's just really weird. But, anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.